Hey everyone, I just finished chapter 5, so I wanted to give you my thoughts. If you're just joining us, I am reading this book, Mind Your Body by Nicole Sachs. And chapter 5, here's chapter 5, expectation setting is everything or overcoming resistance. This chapter didn't really go in the direction I thought it was going to at first. I thought we were going to be doing more journaling. Really, it was a chance for her to kind of explain all the ways in which her clients, people she's worked with in the past, have felt resistance in the process. It was kind of interesting for me because, well, part of me was thinking, what is this journaling component going to be that it's going to be so hard? Like, I'm committed to journaling. I'm committed to whatever is happening next. But some of the ways she was talking about it, it was like there's going to be this huge resistance that I was not going to want to do the work. I think it's good that she set these expectations. I'm curious to see what that winds up feeling like in real life. But she talked about, I don't know how many, maybe we'll count as we go. But she talked about a whole bunch of different types of resistance that might pop up throughout the process. The first one was resistance as excuses. So that might be like too tired, too busy, too whatever, I don't want to do it. So, and again, I think she brings these up more to tell us that before you even start the process, know that you're going to have these excuses and these things popping up in your mind telling you don't do the work. And so let's talk about them up front so that when we get to that point, we recognize the resistance and we push through it. So I love that. I love setting strong expectations. So this is very much up my alley. The next one is resistance as exhaustion, and she talks about her clients having significant exhaustion when it comes time to doing the work, and that it doesn't feel like your normal kind of tired. So that's one that I can see me feeling. I have 2 small kids. It kind of comes with the territory. We're kind of at a point now where everyone sleeps well at night, so I'm feeling well rested most of the time, but I can see this one as being a potential for me to really look out for. Then she talked about resistance as spikes in your pain. We'll definitely be on the lookout for that. Okay, so the next one is resistance as giving your power over to experts, and she defines experts in a number of ways. It could be actual doctors. It could be people in your family who have had like the same experiences. For example, in my family, my grandma had migraines her whole life, and so it's something that she and I still talk about sometimes. When she knows I'm having a bad migraine, she'll often like compare her migraines from when she was younger, and you know, even though she is an expert on her own body, that doesn't necessarily mean that what I'm experiencing now is the same. And then other experts that pop up, like maybe influencers or a neighbor with something similar, whatever it is, like people will try to influence how you feel in your own body, and that we shouldn't, once we've kind of started down this path, we need to like trust in the process and really try to take it to fulfillment rather than like constantly going back to the drawing board because someone else said something new, I guess. That was at least how I interpreted this section. And then she talked about resistance as the symptom imperative, and this is so interesting. So all of the symptoms that happen kind of in this field of work, they say that it's basically interchangeable. Like, I have migraines, you have IBS or something else. It doesn't really matter. But as you start this work, often your body will kind of play tricks on you, and the pain or the symptoms will move around your body. And that this is very, very normal and well documented in her work, which I find very fascinating. She also talks about it as being a sign that you kind of have your symptoms on the run, and that you are actually pretty close to regulating your nervous system at this point, because things are starting to change in your body, and that's a good thing, which I found really fascinating. Finally, the last thing she talks about is resistance as watching the clock, and I think this will be the most difficult one for me. She kind of says it takes however long it takes. She didn't give any time frame at all, so I don't know if that means like a month or like a year. I have no idea. And maybe range of timelines is in fact that large, but I do think this will be the hardest for me. I know that I'm a relatively impatient person, and I know that I know that for me sometimes it's hard to kind of be in the present. So we'll see how this all goes, obviously, but I am feeling very hopeful going into this process that I will be able to kind of set my expectations at a good level, that this doesn't actually contribute too much to my resistance or stressors or whatever, but we shall see. That's the one I'm most worried about. Finally, the end of this chapter, we get a story about Sonia, who was a dancer, and she was living in extreme pain. And my favorite part about her story was actually she talked a lot about kind of the process after she started Journal Speak, and she talked about the symptom imperative and how she felt the pain moving around her body some days, and she was excited by that because she felt like she had it on the run and things were finally moving forward for her. And it kind of gave her like a glimmer of hope, I guess, that she was nearing the end of the process. Not the end of the process. What I'm learning from a lot of these stories is that a lot of these folks still go back to their Journal Speak on occasion, whenever they feel like things are getting a little dysregulated again, but that largely they're feeling very, very healed by the time that they're sharing these stories, I guess. And so it's good to know that like it is going to be a lifelong process, but it doesn't need to be intense for forever like it will be in the beginning. So I love chapter 5. I love the expectations being set in a way that I kind of know what to look for if I feel like things aren't going well. I think that that's really good. I am still a little confused or nervous maybe about what exactly the parameters are for Journal Speak. So hopefully, I don't think I'm too many chapters away from getting into that. Yeah, so I have one more chapter before we get into the journaling component of this process. So chapter 6 is about creating ritual and consistency. I'm still not sure if it makes sense to bring you guys along as I am reading each chapter of this book, but it feels right to me to be processing each chapter as I read it and to kind of share my thoughts as they happen, because I feel like by the time I get to the end of this book, my thoughts will have evolved a bit. Like, if I already knew what Journal Speak was at this moment, I think I would be talking differently about this process. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I feel like because I don't know what's coming next in the book, it allows me to kind of process it as it's happening. And so I hope that's helpful for you. I know if it weren't for this outlet, I would just be like talking my husband's ear off every single day as I read this book, because I feel like I need to process a lot of this. So hopefully, you know, this is helpful. Leave your thoughts down below, your questions down below. Like, I am hoping that this is going to reach the right audience and that folks will be able to learn along with me, even if, you know, you're watching this in the future, of course. But like, the reason I'm making this video is to kind of cement this moment in time as I am just now reading the book. So hopefully that makes sense. I am excited to move on to chapter 6, and we'll see you in the next video.